Today's episode of the Occasional Podcast is sponsored by T.H.E Design. T.H.E Design of New York handcrafts heirloom quality furniture for storing records and audio components right here in the U.S. From cocktail tables to their series of record cabinets, T.H.E Design makes high-end furniture that not only allows for quick access to your vinyl collection, but does so in a way that is both beautiful and functional. Each handcrafted piece was designed and constructed with careful consideration to specifically accommodate the heavy weight of an LP collection. Every item is made to order and can be customized with a range of wood and hardware options. Check out their entire catalog of bespoke products at T.H.E Design. That's ATOCHADESIGN.com. They also ship internationally. This show is also brought to you by The Occasional Magazine. You can download the spring issue of The Occasional Magazine on part-time audio file right now. You just go to the website, click on The Occasional drop-down menu to the magazine, and voila, another link for you to download the downloadable PDF with beautiful photography from no other than our co-host, Bryan Beasley.
Hey, what's up, Mr. Hunter? Yeah, dude, the magazine looks great, by the way. Thank you so much. I got to... my daughter makes an appearance, actually. Ooh. Hazel gets her close-up finally. The younger sister. Layla's been starring in everything, and finally Hazel gets a few photos supporting an article that you wrote, actually.
Yep, I have two pieces, actually. One... about the perfect summer drink, the gin and tonic.
Nice.
And another just about the casualties of convenience.
Right. How Alexa has changed everything. We've talked about that on this podcast before.
It was actually really creepy what happened. Do you remember?
Yeah. We were talking about Alexa, and then all of a sudden, Alexa in the other room's like, "You talking about me, bitch?" And we're like, "Yes, we are. Play Bad Romance." And she did.
Her speakers were burning.
But, yeah, it is a beautiful magazine, and it's the first time I've been lucky enough to have some photos in it, and I was very excited. So go check it out. I think you're going to love it.
Yeah, it's super fun, super interesting, and it is Rafe Arnott's final journey at the helm for that one. Yep, but the magazine is going to continue. Scott Hall has some awesome stuff prepped,
leading the
way. And there is already
gonna miss you, Rafe.
Plans for another magazine. So that guy will continue on, as will this wonderful podcast called The Occasional. That's our partner. That's our sister.
That's right.
Sister print.
That's right.
So all good things.
Listen,
coming.
read, download.
Yeah,
you got it all, baby. You're welcome.
And let's not forget about the newsletter. Even more reading.
Get that in your inbox.
I don't know. Is there anything else that could be occasionally done?
I don't know. We could occasionally be entertaining.
How about...
Maybe we'll try right now.
TV show.
What are we doing today, Mr. Hunter?
We are talking about, by the way, the Occasional Podcast, season 1.75.
1.75, baby. 2.0. Here we are.
When we get down
We're not into our second season yet. Don't force the second season, people. We're not there yet.
When we get to season 1.9999. You'll know we miscalculated something.
Infinity. Repeating, of course.
Though the highlight for this podcast, the home entertainment show.
Boom. Of Irvine.
In Irvine, yeah.
2018.
Yeah.
Don't believe the logo. It's not Huntington Beach? No.
We go
Newport.
into this. It used to be in Newport, yeah. And so the logo didn't exactly get updated, I think.
Priorities.
There is a new logo, but the old one still flies around here and there, flies in through the window, these kind of things.
It's officially in Irvine. You know how I know? Because we went.
Oh, yeah.
We went, guys. We're going to talk all about it today.
And we had a great time, and we actually have an interview with the showrunner, Maurice Jung.
Nice.
Where he explains about the name.
Yep.
And he also goes into... an interview about some of the sordid history, because for those not familiar, in this show specifically, there was another show in Los Angeles that just recently... The LA audio show. We had a great couple of shows for a couple of years down in Los Angeles. Closer. I like that bit. But more recently, had some hard times, and unfortunately this year they did cancel like a month ago, so like 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago. So this is really the only opportunity in Los Angeles to go to an audio show separately for all you guys out there in the Los Angeles area. So we went down, captured what was there. It was
Marriott, Irvine. We had a beautiful suite in the there in the Marriott corner office.
Maurice was very generous with us and very nice, and he gave us like a tour. We had somebody. They were very kind to us. So I very much appreciate all the hospitality.
Getting some respect from the shows. Finally, some respect.
I appreciate all the hospitality we were shown. And let's actually, you know what? Let's roll that interview from Maurice right now.
Roll it.
So I'm here with Maurice Jung at the show, and I just want to say hi, and it's nice to meet you. And if you just give us a lowdown quickly on the name, because it is The Show now, is that right?
Yeah, it's called The Show, the home entertainment show, formerly the show Newport. We've been in business since 1997. We started at CES in Las Vegas for many years, and then got tired of getting beaten up by CES, so we moved down to Southern California, where there's a more eclectic group of people that enjoy this stuff, and it really is the end user, the buyer, because the CES is just strictly for trade show, so we've been down here for about the last 6 years, and it is The Show in Irvine.
And so it's been kind of a bit of a tumultuous process getting to this point. I was very curious if you could maybe just walk us through what's happened over the past couple of years from your vantage point, if you're comfortable with that.
Sure. I've known one of the original owners going back to the 1990s when I was doing trade show in Las Vegas. And so we became good friends for many years, and then about 2015, Richard Beers, who was the second owner of the business, contracted lung cancer. So, attended to his needs. Unfortunately, he passed away 6 months before the show in 2016. And then I took it over on behest of his sister, Beverly Harbor, who also just passed away from lung cancer in November. So I've been playing this life game of trying to keep this business going and helping a lot of these companies that hand make products that you really won't find anywhere else. You won't find any of these products in a box store. This is something that's specific to people's needs and wants, and it's a luxury item. And this is really what this is about. It's a luxury show. And we've been running it this way, and we're going to continue to be here many more years.
Last year, there was a show planned, if I'm not mistaken, that got there was a bit of a bump in the road or something happened. Can you explain what happened last year?
Well, last year we had a competitor that started a couple of months before us, and things didn't go as well as a lot of people had planned. And on top of that, the other owner, Beverly Harbor, also contracted lung cancer. And at that point, we postponed the show until this year. At this point, and it's been rough. It really has. Also for a lot of the vendors, too, that had planned on this show so that they can make their sale, so they can keep going on it. But we're past that now, and, we've got a good crowd already coming in on a Friday, which is good. So we're looking forward to Saturday and Sunday, and people really just knocking us dead. And we have some live entertainment for free for people to come to. We're looking forward to them to come to that.
I also kind of wanted to talk about, what makes a good audio show, because there's a lot of different factors that go in and a lot of different audiences you need to cater to. Of course, the number one thing I think is the attendees.
And what did you think?
The people in the Los Angeles area, they deserve an opportunity to hear high-end systems that they don't own firsthand and compare them back to back to back. And that's kind of what you can get. You can go from one room to the next room to the next room, and you're getting this kind of A-B, although delayed, experience from system to system. Not everybody gets that chance. You can go to your local dealer, of course, and do the same thing there, but this is kind of more get together, shake hands, kiss speakers,
babies,
kiss speakers.
And do you think they showed up?
Yeah, I mean,
They did.
From my experience,
Right.
There was a lot of guys, and the experience for the attendee was good, albeit not the biggest. There's much shows that are much larger.
Sure.
They're more experienced. So in that
tiny
sense,
but mighty. That's what I thought.
tiny but mighty, yeah.
Because there was never a booth that didn't have someone in front of it talking to the vendor.
And that leads into, what do the vendors want? Mm-hmm. The vendors, I think, they want to make sales. They want to build awareness.
Yep.
But one of the things they really want is to see people in the rooms. And on Friday, which is the only day that we were able to attend, they were packed. Midday, it was like every room was packed. I was like, this is good. So from that perspective, the vendors kind of had their kick. Now, I can't speak to Saturday or Sunday, and traditionally Sunday is always a really slow day.
Sure.
But Friday, it was good.
It was.
It was good. Granted, there weren't that many rooms. So the per capita thing, but if you did go to this one, you did have a lot of people in your room, at least on Friday. Now, that isn't to say if this is really successful and they book a bunch more rooms that it can't thin out the herd, so to speak,
Sure.
and it won't feel as impressed. But this year's attendance felt pretty good.
I thought it was great. Matter of fact, this is a real Southern California show. We talked about this on the live feed, the live Facebook feed we did when we were down there. Because there were some vendors that was very, like I said, Southern California. There was like a mini car show that was going on. You could see all the Ferraris and the Corvettes and the Rolls Royces, which I thought was pretty cool, actually. The sun was up. You could be poolside, listening to your new headphones. They had a great selection of vinyl. There also was a cigar lounge. Mm-hmm. You could buy cigars, and lo and behold, you could get a facial if you wanted to pop a few zits while you were down there before you deep dived into some listening, which I did actually. And I'm not gonna lie, I look amazing. 2 weeks after a week after I still look good. So
they did have a couple of fillers in the marketplace because like I said,
were you annoyed by that? Because I actually liked it. I actually did like it.
It doesn't matter either way. I think as long as there's stuff to do and things. I do know that some people's experience with that was not as pleasant. That they felt that was a little bit intrusive or not on the correct vibe. But there were dudes doing it.
Yeah, there were. Yes, and you can see that in the article I wrote. Because I got some photos of it, and I thought it was great. And they're smiling and they're having a good time. It was a little bit out of their comfort zone, but it was also. You're right. They were in the marketplace, but that was also on the outskirts. So it wasn't like, oh, you had like a high-end audio, and then right next to it, you had two ladies trying to sell you some lotion for your face. That was kind of, I guess you could call it filler, but I thought it was great. It kind of brought a little pizzazz to the show. If you didn't want to go over there, you didn't have to, but I did. I thought it was fantastic.
And you went to the marketplace at Expono. How do you?
Yes.
What were your takeaways? And
well,
when you compare this against Expono,
the biggest takeaway is that Expono was just so much bigger. The other thing too is, since this is in Southern California, like the one whole wall was windows, and you could walk out there, and the sun is shining. They had food trucks, and there's a Rolls Royce and a Ferrari and a classic Corvette, and I don't know. I dug that kind of stuff. That's something that is very, like I said, very Californian, and I love California, so it all rang true to me. I thought the hotel was really nice. It definitely, I don't know if it was a new hotel or if it was completely remodeled, but it was very modern looking, and I don't know. I thought it fit well for the audio show. So I thought they did a great job. I really, like I said, this is my local show, and I'm very happy with it. So, and the great thing is that I actually like that Exponent is bigger, because that's something that I have to get on a plane and travel to, and I want that to be the bigger show. I want this to be my local little audio hang, and it is. So, really nice work, Maurice.
Yeah, and then, of course, the final perspective to look at is the perspective that we come from, where it's media. And from a media perspective, I think, and this is in combination with manufacturers, that, it's better if you have to fly somewhere to have product releases, to have news items, to have real things that draw traffic from for your website or publication. And I think if we were to fly to this, it would be a slightly disappointing.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it like that. Yeah,
that perspective, because we don't really have any. There was no major product releases. We'll go over everything that was good, and there was good stuff. Let me just say that. But again, people say a lot of things. They do, and a lot of things have been said about this whole scenario. But I would just like to say that I had a great time, even though you may be able to find a lot of other things, other perspectives. And I think that if you went, it's all based on your experience. You know, you could go there and have a good time. You could maybe go there and have a bad time.
Well, I mean, we opened the show with the whole scenario that there used to be 2 shows in LA and one of them's gone. So if you don't support this one will be gone too. So there you go.
And you'll have nothing.
Yeah. And California is the second biggest state in the union. So come on, people, get out here. Come support your stuff, bros.
So now
let's dive into it.
I'm going to go into what we saw, right? Yeah, let's launch into this stuff. Because one of my favorite things almost always, and I'm not afraid to admit this, I do kind of have a little mini crush on the NBL stuff.
You do. You won't stop talking about it, honestly.
And
it's annoying.
The most annoying thing about this company is that it's so close to MLB. I always screw it up MLB. In a rush.
You do. For someone who hates baseball.
I do not.
Oh, no, you're a Padres fan, which basically means you hate baseball.
I can't. I just can't right now. But they often partner with United Home Audio, which makes reel-to-reels and Bs. I'm
a huge fan. I'm old school with this kind of stuff. Reel-to-reel, 8-track, and vinyl, baby. It's my youth. It's all nostalgia.
And if you're into vinyl, of course, the hardcore guys know reel-to-reel is like an even deeper dive into the rabbit hole where we take a little cake and it makes us bigger and the other one makes us smaller. Anyways, West Coast debut. We did 2 new products. So we did have a product release. 2 new products. West Coast debut of the N11 Stereo Pre and the N15 Monos. Now, this is not the reference line for this company, but rather the step down called the Noble. I don't say step down. Let's just call it mid-tier, right? Okay. It's mid-tier.
Okay.
That's $14K for the Pre and roughly $18K for those Monos, but they were hooked up, and guess what? They sounded great. That's because they had the loudspeakers from the company, the mid-tier ones. Not the tall double-decker guys, but the mid ones. Ooh, so tasty. Anyways, UHA had the newest model, the Ultima 4, on display, which was awesome. So anyways, he had a new take-up reel. It's $400 on the Ultima 4, but it's a little bit different because he's having it precision cut via CNC, and it's not just stamped like a traditional unit.
So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. I know where I can buy vinyl. I have absolutely no idea where you can buy 8-track. What reel to reel? Is there a company putting Beatle tracks on reel to reel? Like, how do you buy that? How does that work?
So if you have a collector of vinyl, collecting reel to reel is like the next level because you're actually getting closer,
right? To the tape went to vinyl,
the master tapes.
Gotcha.
Because they print out like hundreds of
sure.
Vinyls, thousands of vinyls. They even have like short runs, but reel to reel, man. If you got like a not 1-to-1 transfer, that'd be insanity. But like 2 to 3 to whatever. I mean, I would love to hear just play the original. But there's this story about Queen and Bohemian Rhapsody where they re-recorded the original thing so many times in analog that the tape started to become transparent and it was breaking. They're fragile. So you would never listen to them because it's got a limited amount of runs left, right? So, anyways, they have some at Amoeba.
Do they really?
In dusty bins in the far corner. But online, you can find it and you start to know people who, I got a copy of this and that. But it's a Google search away for the most part, but you got to be prepared to spend the buckage.
Yeah, it's a rabbit hole, I'm sure. Well, that's awesome. Good for them for putting that out there. So what's next? Ryan speakers, right? What'd you think of the room? I thought it was amazing. People were talking about it. A
tasty treat of sonic meat. Don't even think about it, Ryan. That stuff's TM, bro.
That's right. Copyright. Yeah, we when we were doing the live stream while we were there, Russ Stratton, a production guy, major attendee, is at all the shows. We pulled him from a walk by and got him to be our last guest, and he couldn't say enough positive things about Ryan speakers. What were your thoughts? Give us the in-depth.
Well, it should be known that these guys, the bookshelves, the new bookshelves, they're not even up on the site yet. The S610, the 610s, but this is the new S series, $4,000 per pair. They were transparent and they sounded great. So it wasn't just raw transparency for the sake of it. It was a good texture combined with just a really good sound and people say this, but for a pair of bookshelves, because they got a floor standard already available right now.
And we know how much you love bookshelves.
tasty treat of sonic meat. Anyways, they had originally they were going to pair it with a 5K Pass Labs integrated, but they got a big dog there. So they had kind of like a huge backing system, but they sounded so good. PS Audio Direct Stream DAC, small grain computer Sonic Transport i7 with Rune, an AudioQuest Niagara 5000 power conditioner running in this system, and it was a highlight. I think if you are of even means, you could probably get this guy going together instead of going on a couple trips to Disneyland. So Ryan Speaker's room was outstanding.
And it was packed the entire time. I don't feel like every time we walked by there.
Yeah.
Full seats. You had the standing room only to get in there.
And then we also got introduced to a couple of people through a pal of mine, Gary Katayama. Now, I see this guy at all the audio shows. He swears he's never going to go, but every single audio show, he's always there.
Yeah.
Everyone. He's like almost the only, I think the only
And he's
guy.
always like, I'm not going to let you interview me. And yet we get to interview him every time, which I love. So, yeah, AGD Productions had a room that I found myself in. And what really got me is they have this thing called the AGD Vivance GA-in tube monoblock amplifiers. And we're going to play a little snippet from the live stream where Alberto Guerra, the architect of this beautiful amplifier, kind of gets into the weeds on the tech aspects. But here's what I loved about it. It's gorgeous, but it had this beautiful amber glow to it once it really got going. And me as a photographer, I was in there snapping away, and so he taps me on the shoulder, and that's how we meet. We go out in the hallway, and he's giving me the deep dive on the text. But I love the guy. Like I instantly had a rapport with this guy. He's from Italy. I mean, he lives here. I think he's in the Palisades, but he's got this very smooth Italian accent, and so yeah, he was kind of giving me the play-by-play on the amplifiers. And then they had Ocean Way loudspeakers connected to it, which is Alan Sides' company out of Burbank. And if you don't know who Alan Sides is, this guy is a major music producer, mixer. I mean, he's basically worked with I looked up his who he's worked with online, and it's pretty insane. Sinatra, Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow, Aerosmith, and that's just to name a few. It was a long list going back to the early 80s that this guy has worked with. But my favorite story about Alberto is, so he's new to manufacturing. Like he's new to the manufacturing side. And he puts all his time and effort into this monoblock amplifier with this beautiful amber tube, and he's kind of showing it around, and everyone who listens to it is like, "Oh my God, this thing's really amazing!" And from one audiophile professional to another, he basically ends up at Ocean Way in Burbank, and doesn't really know who Alan Sides is. And Alan comes in the room. He's plugged in his amplifier to the Ocean Way speakers, and he likes to say that Alan kind of like stalked the room. That it was like almost like while he was listening to the amplifier, it was like it's like when you're in a kitchen and you smell something bad and you're kind of sniffing around to kind of find the source. Alan was literally stalking the room, trying to get every angle of this amplifier and how it worked. And after an hour, I guess he turns to Alberto and is like, "Man, this sounds good. This sounds really good." And so they partnered up. I think this is the first show that they've worked together and having a room. But it really was amazing. It sounded really fantastic. Did you get a chance to go in there?
I did not. I'm just kidding. I went
Nice
in there.
nice lead in, boss.
No, I did get to go in there. I was just messing with you, and it sounded great. It sounded fun. I do think it's kind of interesting considering he's saying that he puts a Class D amp inside the tube.
Yeah,
if I'm understanding correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a fun room. It was a fun room. There's no way that Gary would have let me walk by without going in.
That's true.
I think he would have probably clobbered me over the head.
But just to finish the story, so after Alan has come in the room and they've kind of agreed that Alberto has something here, that's when he gets invited into the back offices, and Alberto sees like this wall of platinum records that Alan has, and he's like, "Oh, this is a real deal. Like this guy Alan Sides is the real deal, and if he's saying it sounds good, then it sounds good," which of course Alberto already knew. So I don't know. It was exciting to kind of see a new partnership in this world and how it all works, and so we had him on the live stream, and yeah, why don't we go ahead and play a little snippet of Alberto's interview, and he can kind of do a deep dive on the tech aspects of it.
Alberto Guerra, and I started AGD production just a couple of years ago. reason my passion about music, of course, and also my geek attitude about designing stuff that are really unique, something different, something that doesn't really look like standard things, and typically with the most advanced technologies. That is exactly why I merged this concept into the first real, marketable amplifier, high-end amplifier that I designed. The fundamental idea was to break this kind of concept that a Class D amplifier cannot sound as good as, a regular linear amplifier or Class A or Class AB, which is, of course, is a mindset. Technologically speaking, there is no reason, and actually should sound better. So, but I understand that the issue was also to convey the message in a way that people were not going to be afraid to listen to, and so I designed everything inside a tube. So I physically integrated entire 200-watt Class D amplifier inside a KT88 glass. And it is really a KT88 in every sense of the word. Even the socket, the octal socket, has the same pinout. The only problem, of course, you cannot really replace a KT88 with that. And I was able to do that because I used one of the most advanced components in the market, gallium nitride MOSFET, that can run the power stage at very high frequency and extremely high efficient. So you saw that there is no heat sinking whatsoever, and because I was able to design the entire amplifier, so the PCB and all the connection, understanding what that means for the high frequency operation. Well, I eliminated all this kind of artifact and things that people sometimes recognize to be bad.
So also the Magico A3 launched at Expona this year, a couple of months ago in April. But the A3 is obviously the cheapest of the Magico lineup at $9.8K.
Finally, something in my price range.
$10K. And this guy's tricked out beryllium dome, graphene on carbon fiber for the woofer, and the product line, the A3 product line, is set to expand even further. No bookshelf yet, but maybe.
Don't worry, boss. If they want to make you happy, they'll get that bookshelf.
Everybody does want to make me happy. They were presenting with VAC, and it sounded amazing. So this one is like actually my third highlight I think we're at right now. So MBL, Ryan Transparency, and now this Magico delightful, delicious 10K. I love this kind of stuff. Also, show highlight, the Magico, man. Good sound, great fun, 10K. About time. I think it's right. About time. That should be the tagline for that. What do you think? About time?
About time, yeah.
Apostrophe
Finally.
B-O-U-T. Bout.
Finally, we did it together.
So tell me about this VR headset that you saw.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, that's the thing. It's not VR. I hoped it was. So when we walked into the show, the very first major room right next to registration was this place called Royal. And so I guess they kind of pride themselves on making flexible sensors and displays. And as the guy William, who I talked to, the sales guy there, they came up with that technology, and then they had to actually make products that worked with it. So the big thing that they were pushing was this thing called Moon, which it does. It looks like a VR headset. But in reality, what it is, here's the tagline: a truly immersive mobile cinematic experience. And again, I'm a filmmaker at heart. So when I saw these, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. An HD screen attached to, some high fidelity noise canceling headphones. The problem is that it was heavy as all get out. And, even with the guy kind of walking me through how, okay, you push this button here and it adjusts, it still, I felt, took me like 10 minutes to get it to where I could see it and it wasn't fuzzy. What I did find very cool about it is the side of the headphone was like a touchpad, kind of like your iPhone, and you could swipe and you could select and you could do volume up and down, which I hadn't seen before. And I thought that was pretty cool.
I think Bayer Dynamic has a headphone like that as well.
Is that right?
It's kind of a new tech that's making its way. Yeah, left, right swipes, these kind of
right. And that's their main thing. That's Royal's main thing, is that aspect of it. The kind of like I said, the flexible sensor that you can kind of put anywhere. So I watched a bunch of trailers on it, which was fine because trailers are 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes long. But I don't think I could sit there on an airplane or wherever the hell I would be wearing this thing, watching a full movie, because 2 or 3 minutes in, the thing's slipping off my face. Or here's another thing, and I've never done VR, so this is a question for someone who has. It wasn't even hot in there, but you've got this apparatus on your face, and it started the screen started to moisten up, like it started to fog up. So yeah.
But for those of
Yeah.
you
Okay,
who
that's
don't
true.
know,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna let you guys know that Bees is
I'm a sweater.
when he goes on a photo shoot. He used to wear like this little wristband
Yes.
to soak up the sweat.
Yes.
But
And that didn't even help.
It was like 2 seconds in.
Yeah.
It's totally saturated, doing nothing.
Yeah. So it's no surprise that there would be a fog up on my sweaty ass face. I don't know. It looked really cool. Again, in the article I wrote, there's some photos of it. So it shot like, photographing it was fine. And the headphones were fine too. And so was the HD screen. It was just
That's what I wanted to ask you. But tell me about the viewing experience.
it wasn't good.
But aside from the wait, could you see yourself watching a whole movie like that?
I couldn't. Or a sporting event, which is what they talked about. I guess the night before, while they were setting up, some of the other vendors had come in the room and they were watching the Golden State Cavs game 1 of the NBA Finals. And I'm just like, man, I don't know if I could watch a 3-hour basketball game on this thing. I mean, the problem is that I'd rather just watch it on TV, like a real TV. Because you're constantly fiddling with it. While when you're sitting on a couch watching a TV, I don't have to fiddle with anything. So,
Did you think it was fatiguing at all?
yeah, it was.
Oh,
It was a
on
little
your eyes, it was fatiguing.
I mean, I didn't even get that far. That's a great question. It was fatiguing on my head. But I will say this: the company is making all this other stuff. They had a whole bunch of prototypes. They had like this super cool phone, and which would be kind of a landline aspect. They had this like mobile keyboard, which was like it's the size of a pen that would it would unstretch. You would like pull out. Yeah, you'd pull out like you pull a curtain or blinds down, and it was a full keyboard, but it was razor
How
thin.
did I miss that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But these are all prototypes. It's all about that flexible sensor technology. And they also had some pads trying to do iPad stuff where you would like write on a pad of paper, and then underneath it, it was digitizing what you were writing digitizing it. So you had it.
I should have covered that one, dude. Damn.
So,
that
was
amazing.
But that was the table of stuff that they don't have finished. They're only manufacturing this headset, this cinematic experience, which I wasn't that impressed with.
So they probably won't be able to make any of that stuff because your review just crushed their phone.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to make that. You're gonna put it on your head. It's got to be light. I mean, can you imagine watching something on there and then all of a sudden you got a headache halfway through, or you just can't focus it, or it's fogging up? I don't know. No good.
In terms of like the PlayStation VR that came out, I don't believe that it's really meeting the expectations.
Is that right?
Had. They said this about 3D too. Look, people. This is true with almost anything. They like to stick with what they know. And in terms of entertainment, they're not really quick to adjust. So people are saying, oh, everybody's going to have a 3D TV. It's going to be the thing. Did not really work out.
No, people bought it and then they had nothing to watch on it.
And then VR. Oh, everybody's going to do VR. I've done VR. It's fine. Gotta be honest, some people get sick from it. It's just like playing with your reality a little too much. And that's why I was asking about the fatigue. Because I can see myself sitting there being like, this is too much for my eyes. I want what's more natural.
Right.
A flat image.
Right.
That moves magically.
Right.
So, yeah.
It was interesting, but definitely, I thought it was cool. I thought it was going to be cooler than it really was. Honestly.
Yeah. I understand that.
And it has a cool name, Moon.
There's nothing else in audio named Moon.
No, Royal Moon. No.
I'm just joking. There's actually 2 other companies.
I can imagine.
Moon. Sure.
So Cambridge, talk to me about Cambridge.
It's a city-based. It's a city in England. Why?
Yes. Did you go to that one?
Oh, you mean Cambridge Audio?
Based out of Chicago, Holmes.
No, that's just the marketing team. Nice group of guys I got to meet. U.S. the marketing team was there, and they were kicking butt. They've been kind of helping launch this new Edge series. So traditionally, Cambridge, they've dabbled in the lower price points, and they're moving on up to the east side of Chicago. And they got the new NQ streamer, NW amplifier, which are separates on display together. They total $7K for that package. So separates for $7K, partnered with B&W 805 D3 bookshelves for a total of a $13K system.
Okay.
Sounded great. AudioQuest cabling. They also make an Edge A integrated amplifier. And it took 9 engineers 3 years developing the new Edge products.
Wow. There you go. They put some time and effort into that.
I think they're onto something. I think they're onto some fun stuff. So
Does that go on your Christmas list as well?
One of them.
Gotcha.
Just like the big guys coming down and then the lower price points coming up, they like make their statements. I'm making a statement, and that statement generally gives you a pretty good value proposition. Hopefully.
Good.
So there we are. Also a great sounding room. Loved it. Had a great time. I like those speakers as well. Transparent, fun, interesting playlist. They're making a big splash. Yay, Cambridge.
Good job, guys. All 9 of you.
YG Acoustics. Hey-yo. Adrian Alterman. Congratulations on your new position.
Hey, good job.
She is partnered up with YG Acoustics, and the speaker company, partnered with Dan D'Agostino Monoblock Momentum M400 amps. I was a little disappointed.
Oh no, why?
That it wasn't the new.
Sorry, Adrian.
The new massive monos.
Oh, you wanted something new.
Relentless. They're called Relentless.
I like it.
And they were at Munich, and they were absolutely massive. But it would. They're like I think they're like 500 pounds a piece. It's so heavy.
Get to work, guys. Come on.
The Momentum M400s are beautiful, and they also come in black, which I hadn't seen before. So they had a pair of blacks and and they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Copper and aluminum, shiny audio jewelry. Audio Research REF10 pre YG Acoustic Sonia SV Junior plus another loudspeaker from them, but we heard the Sonia SV Junior and great sounding room. They had a big room, so they had plenty of room to breathe. Great sound, great room to hang out in. Also, Technics.
Yes, finally.
Their big dog was in there. They had the night fun display with the new huge redone reference turntable line. So the whole ball of wax was great. Fun.
It's great to see a classic like that. You know what I'm saying? To build on the classic.
On the ones
like
and twos and threes in that room, there's 3. That room I like just because it had a little bit more space. It could breathe. And it was like a real traditional, appropriately sized room for the speaker with monos running, the full audiophile experience.
Plus, it was they kind of put it on like a show. Like you had to you wait outside, and they brought a group in, and then they closed the doors, and they did it properly. I thought that was pretty cool, honestly, since you have such a big room to do it.
I also ran into one of my favorite characters.
Who's that?
From Odyssey. The darkest room at the show was the way I'm gonna write up the darkest room of the show.
The opposite side of the moon.
And I walked in. I walk in there and he's like, "That's the idea." He had like a couple.
So how did you even know it was him? So dark in there. Did you bump into each other?
I just have a sense about these things.
Like, love by the light of an iPhone.
Claus. His name is Claus. And he kind of had a near-field setup this time with his Stratos Manos, 25K for those guys, and the liquid speaker.
What's a liquid speaker? Do tell.
It's a name only. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Sorry,
you had me.
It's made out of water.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
And
can you make that happen, Claus?
Claus.
Get to work.
You got your assignment. But he says that the speakers were a little large for the room. He thought that his room would be bigger than it was.
Is that why he kept it so dark? Couldn't see how large they
wanted
were.
to create an ambience, I think.
Oh.
And so
bigger's better, baby.
You know who I miss though?
Who's that?
That's a great show. There used to be these guys that just were like 2 dudes, just like you and I, except they
2 dudes
brought their own stereo and they would pay for a room and just sit there
and drink beer
at the top floor. And they had their own homemade limoncello. They had
they were just hawking drinks, huh?
I think they had some money because they basically spent buku bucks on a
Were they actually making a stereo, or did they just like buy a Radio Shack?
Nothing.
Huh.
They brought.
I just want to have a good time.
They brought their personal stuff.
Yeah.
They had tons of booze stocked.
Can we find out who they are and interview them? We have to find out who those people are.
It was so fun. And not from them, but it was such a party in there. And they had like lights and crazy psychedelic. And they'll play whatever you want, man. They're super cool. Not them, But while I was in that room, another dude was like so into the vibe. He's like, "Hey man, you want some drugs?" And I was like, "That was like a real party."
Where am I?
It was not them. That was another party that was in their head, just like, "This is my home."
When's the last time you saw these guys?
I don't think I think they stopped doing it. I think it was 2 years. It's Rocky Mountain, and I think they did it 2 years. And I missed them dearly because it was like there's no pressure. There's nothing going on. There's no.
If anyone knows who those people were, tell us in the comments how to track them down so that we can interview them for the podcast and find out why they're not doing it anymore. Because that sounds awesome.
Maybe because it costs them like 10 grand probably to do it.
What's 10 grand to them? Selling limoncellos, making the dough.
They didn't sell them. Everything.
Oh, they were just giving that shit away.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it was like, we made this limoncello. Here, have a drink.
Here
I'm like,
you go.
it's like, and it's like the greatest limoncello you've ever had.
Spiked.
Yeah. And then one of my other favorite characters, Philippa Hannon.
Oh, the Irish accent is back.
On a higher note, one thing I love about this guy, and he's probably gonna be
So
pissed.
he also makes Irish whiskey.
He does not. That would be great.
That really would be great.
But he does make his own playlist that he hands out. So Philip, don't kill me if 1,000 people show up asking for this.
Ooh, it's a select people get
So,
it.
see, he has these playlists that he curates for every show, and they are freaking phenomenal. He has great taste. He knows what great sound sounds like, and it's reflected in his room as well. He was showing a new company for him. He's a distributor of Griffin Audio. He played me some Billie Jane. She's not my lover.
She's at my door though. Get away from my door.
The snare drum that comes in, it was dimensional. It was snappy. It was poppy. It was driven. A fun room that he had to kind of overcome because he had a lot of glass. He had a lot of glass on his, I think it was a corner suite, and he did a great job of making it work with Griffin Audio. So thank you. God bless your soul. You're a great man.
Nice
Philip
work, Phil.
O'Hannon. And then
So what was your overall thoughts of the show?
I like it's hard for me to say anything really negative about it because the smaller show just works so well for me. I'm in and out. I can cover like all the high points with one person or two instead of like a giant show. But if I were a dude going to a show, yes, it would be better if it was bigger, if it was sold out, and then there's just endless. But it depends who you are and what you want. I enjoyed myself.
It was a beautiful day too. So nice.
It worked out perfect. There's a lot of open air. I'm not saying I'm not saying this based on one particular gender, but there were a lot of beautiful people there, both genders.
Welcome to OC, baby.
If you're a fan of the ladies, there was that. If you're a fan
to Orange
of the dude,
County.
it's just like
Another great reason to have people giving facials.
and the food was pretty good. It was healthier down
Yeah,
there.
definitely
I
healthier.
had a quinua salad, which
Nothing fried.
you cannot find that in
Had
Chicago.
a delicious
I don't think.
BLT, baby. It was
Oh,
really
the
good.
BLT, yeah.
Yep. California BLT with a little avocado.
There was 2 floors, and we got through the 2 floors pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it felt good.
Saw
and
some
the
old friends.
The pacing was good. We saw some old friends. Now, a lot of people were missing, a lot of people I love. But I enjoyed myself, and I wish them the best of luck. I hope it comes around next year. And but that's for me because I get to go to all the other audio shows too. So, what about you, Bees?
Well, this is
second
only the
audio.
second audio show I've ever been to, so I enjoyed it. I mean, I've already said this before, but like this is my local audio show, so I'm already endeared to it, and I was happy that there was a little extra activities on the side. Plus, they had a Rolling Stone cover band that came in one night. I think they even had some burlesque dancers. Again, kind of a California thing, which spiced it up. And the pool was beautiful. So that's one really nice thing is that you can go into these dark rooms, take a listen, and then go outside and get some fresh air, and then go back in for another deep dive, another deep audio dive, reel to reel, baby. I'm in. I'm going to Amoeba right now. I'm gonna buy all the reel to reel. Cornering the market.
I say they carry it, and because they have a section and there's boxes, but they were dusty, like no one had even. But maybe there's like that jewel.
Yeah,
you just don't.
That's the one thing about Amoeba, man. They actually do a. They're very. Have you ever sold vinyl to Amoeba before? Have you ever gone in with your old?
Mm-mm.
They're on it. Like they reject a lot of stuff, and they only want the cream of the crop. So I would assume it's the same thing with their reel-to-reel collection. That's only the cream of the crop.
No one. What are you saying, B? Is that no one wanted your Justin Bieber collection?
No, nobody did. You know what? I got
so bitter.
I know I am bitter. I got my dad's vinyl collection, and there was one in there. Do you know who Richard Harris is? Sir Richard Harris. He's a old Irish actor. He's since gone.
Maybe Philip knows him.
I bet Phil definitely knows who he is. A lot of people know who he is. A lot of people listening to this podcast know exactly who Richard Harris is. But I didn't know this, but there was an album of Richard Harris love songs. I guess he he sang them very much like William Shatner where he just kind of spoke them, the songs, the covers. And I listened to it once. I was like, this is horrible. But I was like, I bet Amoeba will buy this. Rejected. I did not want my Richard Harris sings love songs. And so he went to Goodwill.
Did you sell back a section of your Beatles too?
Yeah, that's the big story is that I brought the Beatles, the box set, that I'd only opened Hard Day's Night, and it was so shitty that I was like, and then we talked about it, and you were like, yeah, that's kind of legendary in the community that they printed horribly.
Tell the audience exactly.
So my brother-in-law,
tell them exactly when it came out, so they have a reference. There are many versions.
Yeah, so my brother-in-law, who's a big-time AD, worked on some commercial. Some music thing, and so he got the entire box set of all the Beatles albums, and it came out, I want to say mid-2000s, and it was beautiful, had a lovely book that came with it, and he's like, you're a much bigger Beatles fan than I am, so he just gave it to me. It was like, I don't know, $400.
And you turn around and sold it like an asshole.
I did, yeah, but a year later. But I took it home, and I was super excited about it, and I opened up Hard Day's Night, and I play it, and it's like skipping. But it wasn't skips; it was pops that were in the actual pressing. I mean, it was unlistenable, and it was shocking that it was this bad. And so, off the cuff, I'm talking to you about it. And you're like, "Oh yeah, people know about that. It's like a thing." I was like, "Well, f this." So about a year later, I'm cleaning out my house, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm never going to open any of these other albums." So I took it to Amoeba, and I mean, they were so excited that they looked at all my other shit, and they're like, "We don't want any of this, but we'll take this." And he called up to like the main guy, and like the main guy had to come down and like really look at it to price it right. And since I'd only opened one of them, all the rest of them were still sealed, and I'm like, poor sap who's going to buy this is going to have to go through Pop City to listen to their Beatles.
You know what's really funny?
I got great credit for it.
I think that they maybe even may have known the quality issues, but they knew it would sell.
Oh, it'll sell. It'll totally sell. And I mean, like I said, that only one album was actually open, and the rest of them were sealed. That's even more of a selling point. So I think it got almost $200 in credit, which you threw a listening party. This was kind of my first real deep dive in the audiophile world. You threw a listening party at my house where we invited a select few of cool cats, had some whiskey and some cigars, and you kind of we listened to a bunch of vinyl, and I bought tons of vinyl with my $200 credit, which I still have.
Do you have anything more modern that you bought, or even just the kind of a classic album that you're favoring right now?
Right now, man, I'm still listening to. Well, you know what? You had me photograph for the occasional magazine. You wanted some streaming versus vinyl, a photograph that showed streaming versus vinyl, and I pulled out a Elvis's live comeback special, the Tiger Man special. It's a beautiful album cover with big red letters that says Elvis, and he's wearing like this white suit standing in front of it. Even though I don't think that's actually in the special. In the special, he's wearing like this black leather getup, but whatever. That was the artwork for it, and so I had that. I noticed that in the streaming app, it was the exact same cover. So that was the photograph, me holding my iPhone with the record player behind it, and the artwork on the actual vinyl album behind it, kind of showing the bridge between the two worlds. So when I was playing that, I was like, oh man, this is a great album. Like, because it has got banter on it. Like it's his comeback special. He had been doing movies for, I don't know, the last 10 years. And that was the only albums they were putting out were these cheesy soundtracks. So, and he's got his like the guys that he grew up with as his band. And it's just a small intimate studio. And I think they shot it down in Culver City. Where MGM used to be, which is now Sony, and there's just a bunch of chicks and his bandmates that are like so like they're so Memphis. They got these thick accents and they're just like, "Thanks for changing our life, Elvis. Like this is great. Girls are talking to us. And we're all we're in our 30s, but they're picking and they're Elvis is charming as ever." Actually, when I did a deep dive into when they started playing that album. I kind of looked it up, and I guess the director of that had never directed music before, but he'd done live specials before, so that's why they brought him on. And there was a quote about, because it was live, so there was a quote about him like, oh yeah, like 10 minutes before they're about to go on, Elvis sends someone from his dressing room to go talk to him, and it's like, Elvis isn't going on. They're like, what do you mean? It's like, this is coast to coast, baby, live, 3 networks, this is it. And so this young director had to go in there, and he didn't really know Elvis at all. He's like, hey, Elvis, like, you can do it, buddy. And had a guy give him the old thumbs up speech.
Does it say what the issue was?
I think he just had nerves. I mean, he hadn't performed live. Like I said, he's just been doing movies, which is like take after take, and I don't know. It was just Elvis being Elvis, and he said he was really nervous and and he's like, no one's gonna watch this. But the director had this great quote afterwards. He was like, but once he walked out on that stage and he got that reception, even though there was only maybe, I don't know, a handful of 40 or 50 people in the audience, it was like he slipped right into it, and he threw out a joke and got a great response. And next thing you know, you got an hour's worth of material of him just crushing it, doing gospel and rock and blues. And he even breaks it down. He even talks about like, how rock and roll is basically stolen from the blues of the Mississippi Delta and all this stuff. Like, it's great. It's a great album.
I think the one story I remember was I read they love banana and peanut butter sandwiches.
Right. Fried banana and peanut butter sandwiches.
And they would just take the private jet, go. We like them from this restaurant far, far away from here. Get on the jet, go get me my sandwich and come back.
TCB, baby. TCB. If you go to Graceland, they have the jet in the back, and they, it's great. So in the backyard, and he's buried at Graceland too. You can see his grave. So there's this beautiful little jet. It's got TCB, taking care of business. That was his like little motto. And everything had TCB, had rings with TCB. His glasses, those famous like gigantic glasses, they say TCB right between the lenses. The plane, it's this beautiful private plane, and you can walk up through the normal entrance. And since, it's a tour, they cut out the back, like they cut an exit. So you would just kind of walk through the plane, look in the front, look in the seats, and you're always like, oh my God, it's so much smaller than I thought it would be. But when they cut into the back of the plane to make the exit, they found cash stuffed inside the walls. Because he was like, well, if the plane crashes and he survives, they could burrow into the wall and take out the money. And I don't know what they're going to do with the money, but
burn it on a fire.
Yeah, maybe
warm.
They could stay warm. How crazy is that? They found cash inside the plane walls.
I don't know. That's crazy.
So you can see that too. You can see the money. They got it there too.
Well, that is going to wrap it up for this show, I think. And thanks, everybody, for listening. We will have season 2 on its way. We're kind of getting together the interviews and everything like that right now for season 2. And it's shaping up to be, get pumped. Get pumped.
But thanks for listening to this little mini podcast in between.
This is a full-fledged one.
Well, I guess it is a full-fledged one.
Boom.
A poor podcast without a season. A floating island. No.
It's got its own season, 1.75. Think
Bam.
about that.
Bam,
All the
bam.
other episodes are the ones floating out in the sea, like a sea of other 10. This one's got its own
little
individual season.
Congratulations, little podcast that could.